Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I saw the tweet posted by your organisation and your account of well, I call it a conversation. It does read
Mm,
more like an interrogation. Did it feel
mm,
like an interrogation?
absolutely. And because it was over a period of time, it was gradually dawning on me that this isn't just a query. Because when she asked, where am I from? And I said, Sister Space. No, but where are you from? I said, oh, we're based in Hackney, because I thought she was asking about the Sister Space.
The reason you were in the palace in the first place, which is about
Yes,
your
yes,
organisation, yeah.
yes. And I said, we deal with African and Caribbean heritage people. She wanted to know which part of Africa I'm from. And I said, I'm born here, but African heritage. And then it just went into this whole thing, which became uglier by the second. And I was standing with two other women, also of African and Caribbean heritage, and we were so stunned, we didn't know what to do.
Did she ask you about anything else, or was it only this?
Well, first of all, the first thing she did was take because I've got locks. She took my locks and moved it because she said she wants to see my name badge, which was an offence in itself. I mean,
So
I've never
physically
gone up to
touched you
someone.
and moved your hair out the way?
Yeah, I mean, I've got what you would call dreadlocks, so I've got long locks, and she literally took a bunch of them and moved them out of the way. Now, that is a no-no in our culture. It's a no-no in every
I think
community.
to just physically touch someone the second you meet them isn't great, is it, other than a handshake? Yeah.
But the fact is, she made a beeline for me. Now, that in itself was curious because there's a lot of people there, and we were kind of standing on the periphery. And so she came over, and we thought, of course, this is an event where people engage with each other. So, of course, we're welcoming anybody who speaks to us. But it was very clear very quickly that it was almost like, justify yourself being here. Where are you from? And when you explain that actually I was born here, I'm British, and someone says, no, where are you really from? And you say, oh, born here. No, what's your nationality? Lady, my nationality is British. And then you feel really uncomfortable because this is being done in front of others, and it's a situation that I've never really encountered. And I was blindsided because it was an invitation from Buckingham Palace, and you would think
Well,
that the
you were a
staff are
guest.
trained.
You were a guest.
Yeah.
So you should have been treated in the respectful way.
Yeah.
I hear it in the sigh, Ngozi. You described in the tweet that you were stunned into silence, you and the other women that were with you. What happened? Did it just sort of fizzle out and she walked away, or did you say...
No, it continued for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I had to...
Gosh.
Yeah, and that was the thing, it was really long.
Oh my gosh! So the account that I've been reading from from Sister Space's Twitter feed reads about a minute and a half, a minute long, a minute and a half. Gosh,
I couldn't
10
put
minutes.
the whole thing up there because Twitter doesn't allow you that much conversation. But also, it was difficult to gauge the time because it could have been 5 minutes, it could have been 6, 7, I don't know. When
But
it's
it was
happening
long.
to you, it's so slow and so painful
Because it's
that
excruciating.
you just want it to end. And my thing is, what do I do? Where do I go? Who do I tell? And so you just have to stay there and just take it, basically, until she finally heard that my parents came over from the Caribbean in the 50s. She says, oh, so you're Caribbean. That's what I was getting at. So I thought, oh, wow. And what she needed to do was to satisfy herself that I don't qualify as British. And I just thought, wow.
And it
And
hadn't,
so
you said it hadn't happened to you before, because I'm getting calls from people to whom it's happened multiple times.
Well, the thing is, you can't grow up as a black person in the UK and not have encountered some level of racism. I'm afraid that's the fact. But it's usually kind of either an out-and-out idiot, right, racist idiot who makes a comment and moves on, or something like that. But you don't expect to be, okay, so Buckingham Palace puts out an invitation for 16 days of activism against violence, against women. And so you don't expect, because even though it wasn't physical violence, well, it kind of was because she touched my hair, but that kind of violence you don't expect at an event like this. So I feel violated. I am still processing this whole thing because I'm just as stunned as everybody else. I don't know what to do with it.
And I think as well, you know, the context of, because of your charity work, because of your activism and your professional life, that's why you were there.
Absolutely.
And that's what you should have been asked about.
Well, this is it, yeah. So when she first inquired, that's what I thought she was asking about. Where are you from? Sister Space. You know, what do you do? Because that's the questions that you're supposed to be asked, or you're there to kind of mingle. And then, you know, she told, what I didn't want to do is reveal her. I know her name, but I don't want to have her targeted, because I still feel that this is about violence against women, right? So I don't want her to, even though she was really wrong, I don't think the solution is to put her out there. Yeah. And how am I any better than her, really?
No, I know. And I'm deliberately not naming her in our conversation because I know you don't want it to be just about her, because you actually, and again, tell me how you feel about the palace saying they've asked if you wish to come and talk it through in person.
Nobody from the palace has spoken to me. I don't know what anyone's talking about. I have not been in direct communication, unless they've spoken to somebody from Sister Space, like a member of staff. I personally have had no conversation with anybody from the palace. I don't know about an invitation.
Well, let me read this out so people know. This is from the palace statement. We have reached out to Ngozi Fulani on this matter and are inviting her to discuss all elements of her experience in person if she wishes.
Right. I mean, like I said, I'm about positive solution. This is 16 days of activism, and I am not going to contradict what we're about at Sister Space. So, of course, I'd be happy to have a conversation with anybody to bring about a positive solution, and also to highlight.
So you will take them up on that offer once it filters through to you directly, wherever they say they've put it. It hasn't come to you yet. Absolutely.
Look, Sister Space is about positive solution and about the elimination of violence against women and girls. So part of my conversation is, to be honest, I wish that the lady could be spoken to and know the damage that she can cause, and probably not be front facing. But for her to resign and all that kind of stuff, that has nothing to do with me. And to be honest, I don't feel good about that, because I think apparently she's been there for years. She's an elder, and in my culture,
we respect
our elders, and so this does not please me, and I would be satisfied if she was either removed to another position, but to leave under those circumstances in these 16 days kind of defeats the whole object to me.
Would you I don't know whether she is offering this, but from what the palace statement has said, that's not clear, but would you happily have a conversation with her about it?
I don't think it's my role, to be honest. I bear no malice, but I don't think it's my role. She's not employed by me. I think the palace needs to ensure that the staff, when I came in and everybody else, of course you get searched because you want to make sure there's no danger to the staff. But what about the danger to us who attended? That's what needs to happen. So conversations need to be held with the relevant people so that this kind of thing does not happen again.
And I know you've said, and I understand why, you said, you weren't seeking anyone to lose their job, or it's an honorary role anyway that she has. So it's not that, it's not like she's losing a livelihood or anything like that. I've no doubt it will have been upsetting for her, that every bit as much as it's upsetting to you. I'm not prioritising her over you. But I
don't think it would be as upsetting, because at the end of the day, nobody did anything to her. She kind of did it to herself. Yeah. But I get the sentiment.
But do you think that the speed with which the palace has acted is a positive?
Again, I have no knowledge, because
not your job to manage them, I suppose.
Yeah, I didn't know. I left the house. I posted a tweet, left the house, didn't look at no media. I have no clue what's happening out there, because I just needed to think and to try and find a space to put this. So I have no idea of what's happening with the palace, but my first reaction to it would be, to commend that they move so swiftly, because it's very important that they take this seriously. But like I said, it's an internal issue
for them.
Yeah.
And can I ask you, you've said a couple of times about, since it happened, and I understand why, you've had to absorb it and, withdraw a little bit emotionally and lick your wounds a bit. And I get that. You're clearly bruised by it.
Yeah.
To those people who've texted and called today, and not all of them are white people who've done this, and said she was just showing an interest in your background. She was just asking you, what? Tell them how it feels, and tell them why you think it's not that.
My response to them is, I take due regard to how I treat people. I treat people as human beings. And to ask somebody a question, to inquire, there's no problem with that. But that wasn't a question, that was an interrogation. And the whole idea behind it is for me to denounce the fact that I'm British. And that is not acceptable. People will always find an excuse to accommodate bad behaviour. And if we're going to bring positive change, then we have to recognise when things are unacceptable. And that behaviour, because you represent the palace or royal family or whatever, you can't make those kind of mistakes, because it causes damage and it also reflects on the people that you say you represent. So for those, you're always going to find those people who, you're making a big deal out of it, or she was just doing that or the other. I'm sorry, but if you cause that level of damage, then we need to address that. And if that's okay for people to speak to them like that, then, that's on them. But we have standards which we should not go beneath. I never disrespect people if I can help it. If I cause an offence, it will be by accident, and
you want to put it right.
And I would want to put it right. Yeah.
You've made it really clear. As I feel like I'm hearing two Ngozi Fulani's here, the activist, the eloquent activist, but also you've hinted at the distress it's caused you. Can you just Ngozi, the woman, the person? Can you just put that into words?
Yeah, sure. I'm a mother and a grandmother. Yeah, I'm an auntie. I'm an everything. Right. So, I value elders. I value society. I value people, and I want to kind of create the kind of world that I would like to live in, and my children and my grandchildren to live in. And that means due regard, treating people with respect. When you see racism, it's an ugly name and people don't like it, but it is what it is. And until we can face it, we're not going to have a positive solution. So we need to look at what the issues are and deal with them. And racism is a very big issue, and we can tackle it together, but we must tackle it.
Ngozi, thank you very much indeed, and I'm sorry for the distress that you've gone through in the course of that. Thank you for joining me today. Ngozi Fulani, CEO of Sister Space. Your calls and your texts and tweets in a moment. It's 3:19.